Hello, welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name is Jim. This is our 100th episode. 100 episodes of Baby Boomer Tales, brought to you with love every Wednesday. I hope you're all doing well. Christmas is just in a couple days. It's a great time of year, I believe. A lot of people experience deep sadness and possibly grief surfaces again during Christmas time, remembering maybe the way it was, loves we've lost. And all I can say is those memories shouldn't cause you to grieve, but they should be there to help you smile and remember days gone by when love and fellowship and good times would abound. You will always have struggles in life. No matter how good things are going, you just think everything's okay, and next thing you know, you get a flat tire. That is a weak example of things that happen in life. But I have known people that you thought it was the end of the world. They got a flat tire. First it was this, then it was that, and now I have a flat tire. Well, tires can go flat, that is a fact. All I'm saying is try to find it when you become melancholy, or you want to cry, or you feel like you're alone. Those you've loved, and even those you've lost, are still with you there, deep in your heart, in your memories, maybe in an old photograph. You haven't lost them at all. They've just gone before. It'll be okay. Try to enjoy the ride, for it is a ride like no other. That is a fact. And how you feel and how you see the world today is different than how you perceived everything when you were a child. And when you were a child, the world looked a lot different than when you were a teenager. And when you were a young adult and the world was your oyster, you're gonna make it after all. Throw your hat up in the air, thought you'd live forever. Sure, you loved your family, but everything out there was so important. And now you look back and you realize that what's important to you is completely different than what you valued when you're 25. But the one thing that is always constant, and the one thing that you always want to remember, is you were put on this good earth for a reason. You have touched someone in your past that it actually changed their life, if you know it or not. So when you reflect back, it doesn't matter if you're crying right through it. Please hold it dear in your heart. Maybe you can smile a little. I came into this podcast today totally unprepared for what I was going to say. It is the first time in 100 podcasts that I didn't have an outline written out. I usually put an outline on one sheet of legal paper, and I never read anything word for word because every time I try, it comes out like I'm trying to read something word for word. But I tried to follow the outline fairly well. And one small sheet of paper doesn't make for 15 minutes. So what it is designed to do is trigger a memory somewhere where I can expound on it and tell my little tales. But today I'm looking at my paper, and all it has on the top, it says for 2020-12-23. The next line says episode 100. And that's all it says. I wanted to tell a tale about Christmas and days gone by, but I cannot come up with anything. Maybe last year I spent 2 episodes talking about Christmases during my childhood. I do know that when I was a kid, we tore our presents open and got playing with them within minutes. And as I had a family, and my little girls and my wife and I would sit around Christmas morning, and the first thing we would do is we would read the Christmas story, and we would reflect on that for a moment. And then we would take one gift at a time and take turns opening our presents. And we would pay attention to the person opening. And so it would take a while to do all that on Christmas morning. I suppose this year we'll have no family here on Christmas, and so I'll give my wife something, and she will give me something, and she'll probably apologize that it wasn't much, but I never tell her what I want. That is because I always say I don't need anything. I've got everything I want and need. I wish some of my relationship with some of the folks that I love and treasure so much was better. But you can't give that in a gift wrapped and placed under a tree. If I want something, I go and buy it. I stretch my brain to tell my kids something I want so they don't get me something I don't need and wouldn't use. They're real good like that, and so we've come across this deal where I tell them a little something, and I always say, don't spend any more than that, and they'll always say, but that hardly costs anything, and I'll say something like, that's all I want, and you don't even need to get that for me. But I always sandbag something there. This year it's part of a board game my wife and I play every day. We've worn out some of the pieces, so I've just asked for replacement parts that we've worn out. I don't want a new game of it. And I wouldn't even ask for those, but some of the stuff is almost unusable now. And since the big lockdown, we do play that game every day. It's the time that we set aside every single day, unless one of us is out of town or something, that we spend an hour and a half with each other playing this game. It reminds me a lot of when we were first married and before we had children. At night, after the honeymoon was over, we'd sit on the bed and play cribbage. And that was fun. We had a good time. We did that for almost a couple years, I guess. We were married 2 years before we had our first child. Today I wouldn't have the slightest idea how to play cribbage since I haven't played it now for 41 years. I don't know what happened to the old cribbage board we used to play with. I do know that the game we play now, my wife is a ruthless player and she whoops me quite a bit. We have played approximately 250 games since the big lockdown started, and one of us has won 2 more games than the other one in 250 games. So we're very, very well matched. It's fun. I wish I could take her to a movie. She wants to go out and look at Christmas lights, but that's 45 minutes into the city where there's any lights of any consequence at all. And since it's 2020, I have no idea if those light shows were even going. You know what I'm talking about? You can pick up some music on the AM radio that's associated with those lights, and the lights blink on and off to the rhythm of the music that's going on your AM station. There's several of those around there, and they're kind of fun. I used to like to take the grandkids when they're little. I believe we'll go out tonight and find some of those lights. Well, here I am, rambling on and on, not really knowing what I want to say, except that I do want to express my gratitude for you all that listen to this podcast. I know some of you have listened since number 1, and that podcast was pretty rough. I just sat here and kind of mumbled the words, didn't realize how important it was to concentrate on enunciating, and now we're at number 100, the one without an outline. I look back at my life and I realize how very, very fortunate I was. I had a great family that loved me and put up with me and stuck with me no matter how crazy I actually got. My relationship with my 2 brothers and my sister is still very, very good. And even though I don't get to see them very often at all, I feel very blessed that relationship is still where one of us can pick up a phone and a smile will come over our voices as we visit. I was blessed with always having a pretty good job, a wife who is as loyal as any wife has ever been, someone that probably could have smothered me in my sleep, and yet she laid there by me and tickled my back a little till she heard me snore. We've had our ups and downs, the same way with my work life. And when we had our store in Colorado and the bottom fell out and we ended up losing our store and losing our home and starting a new life 650 miles to the east, she stood by me all the way. In fact, I was such a wreck when we first moved here that she had to go out and get a job until I could pull it together and stop feeling sorry for myself and realize that there are bumps in any road. If you don't believe me, just drive down your interstate in the middle of the winter. You'll hit a pothole that'll shake the bead jiminies out of you. just like that. And we raised our family, and now it's been 43 years, and we've lived in our same home for over 20, the longest I ever lived in one place ever in my life. We were talking about this. We never had a dishwasher until this home, besides my wife, of course. Our girls when they became teenagers, and now I'm the main dishwasher. Well, I like to say that, but I help. Is that being the main dishwasher when you're a helper? Life has been good, no matter how hard it was and how hard it is. I don't want to feel sorry for myself one little bit. I could bore you to tears with telling you all that I should have done, all I wish I hadn't done. Life is too short to live in regret. Whatever it is, forgive yourself, keep moving forward. So go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. And now for a little tale called The Boots. In 1987, we owned a department store up in that little town in north central Colorado that I will always call home. It was a nice little store, and we sold clothing and linens, gifts, and shoes and boots. And we did a pretty good business. And about November came along, and one of the charitable groups from town came by and said they would like to know if we would like to donate. They were going to give some single mothers that had children living at home gift certificates from various merchants around the county. And so we gave a gift certificate of a couple $100, which was quite a bit of money back in 1987. Well, one day this lady came in. She had two guys with her. They all looked pretty rough and tumble. And two little kids, probably about 8 or 9 years old, a boy and a girl. It was in the middle of December, and it was quite cold out. It can get 40, 50 below in that country. Snow up to your armpits. And here they come, and the little boy had some tennis shoes that were just full of holes and wet. The little girl, the same deal. No coats on or anything. The two guys looked like they'd probably just rolled out of a bar somewhere. Very unkempt. The lady looked like she had lived a hard life. And they started looking around, and somebody went up and offered to help them. Well, through all this, I was kind of watching them. And then the lady asked the clerk if they could get anything they wanted with this gift certificate she had. She pulled it out, and I was called over, and I looked at it, and by golly, it was a gift certificate we gave to that charitable organization for a single mother that had some children. I looked at her, looked at the two guys. I looked at the little kids. I nodded my head yes. She could buy anything she wanted. As long as it didn't go over $200, she wouldn't owe a penny. So they proceeded to shop. The kids went over and started looking at coats and shoes and boots. And the lady took the guys over, and she was showing them suits and ties and things that really didn't seem very practical at all, to me anyway. Little boy found a pair of moon boots. If you don't know what moon boots are, they were a very warm boot people wore up there, usually like an after-ski boot. They had a foam lining. They were warm boots. You just pulled them on. You didn't have to lace them up or anything. They weren't a work boot or anything. But most of the kids wore them, kept their feet warm. Little girl had her eye on a winter coat. I saw the little boy showing his mom the boots and showed her how they fit and everything. She shook her head no. I think she bought the little girl a lighter weight jacket because that one was too expensive. Well, long story short, out of the $200, she spent $175 on these two guys, neither of which were her husband. I have no idea where she met him, probably down at the bar. And the little boy went with nothing, and the little girl had this little lightweight coat, better than what she had. So she checked out, and before she walked out the door, I walked up to her and I said, "Ma'am," and I introduced myself. And I said, "I can't help notice that the little boy doesn't have winter footwear or a jacket, and this jacket you bought the little girl is not really a winter jacket." She acknowledged that that's true, but she didn't have any money left. She had already spent it, and she showed me her sacks. So I said, "Can you please hold on just a few minutes?" I called the kids over. We got them boots and jackets. Went back to her and I said, there's no charge for this. My heart was very bitter towards her, and I hugged the kids and told them Merry Christmas. And this is the part I'm ashamed of. I didn't say another word to their mom as they went out the door. It made me want to cry, thinking about my little girls, how when winter came, they're going to get cold outside. It's their own fault for not zipping their coat up or whatever. And this little boy and this little girl were doing their very best just to make it, because Mama, for whatever reason in the world it was, did not have her priorities in line. All I can say is peace on earth, goodwill towards men.